Tonight, teenagers escape with their lives as cyclonic winds smash Victoria. 2 dead, 16 in hospital and dozens of homes destroyed in South Australia's bushfires. Russian forces mobilise as the surviving pilot claims he received no warning from Turkey. A TV star pleads guilty to a string of child sex offences. Barking dogs credited with saving 2 stricken kayakers at Werribee South. And a stoush brewing between a developer and council over the future of a Melbourne landmark.
This is 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. A group of schoolies has cheated death after a tree smashed their campsite at Lake Eildon. Cyclonic winds lashed the state, with the SES responding to more than 750 calls for help. Neri Tai reports.
This is what's left of a schoolie's campsite. Tents squashed, buried underneath logs and branches. Neri Tai, 9 News.
South Australia is mourning 2 people killed by an out-of-control bushfire north of Adelaide. Lizzie Pearl tells us the heartbreaking firestorm destroyed dozens of homes and buildings and left farmers with heavy stock losses.
Fire quickly takes hold at a farm homestead in rural South Australia. Within minutes, it's well alight. Lizzie Pearl, 9 News.
Russia is bolstering its defences in the Mediterranean, sending an advanced missile system to protect its fighter jets after one was blasted out of the sky. A pilot who survived says he wasn't warned, despite Turkey claiming otherwise. Amelia Ballinger has today's developments.
An aid convoy on the Turkey-Syria border decimated, the result of one of at least a dozen airstrikes in the area near where the Russian fighter jet came down. In Istanbul, Amelia Ballinger, 9 News.
An actor who's appeared in several Australian TV dramas has pleaded guilty to child sex offences. Jeremy Cooley made the admissions during a brief magistrates court hearing. Alan Raskell was there.
For an actor, Jeremy Cooley was uncharacteristically mute as he walked into Melbourne Magistrates Court.
Mr Cooley, how do you respond to the charges?
Alan Raskell, 9 News.
2 fishermen are lucky to be alive after their kayaks capsized off Werribee South in last night's wild winds. As Dougal Beattie reports, 2 dogs barking on the beach raised the alarm.
Exhausted after a near drowning, 2 fishermen finally make it ashore. Dougal Beattie, 9 News.
A Liberal MP has defended his decision not to join a standing ovation for Australian of the Year, Rosie Batty. The domestic violence campaigner addressed a special sitting of the Victorian Parliament, calling for a change to community attitudes. State political reporter Andrew Lund.
A rare joint sitting of State Parliament, listening in silence as Rosie Batty redefined domestic terrorism. Andrew Lund, 9 News.
Schools will become the front line in tackling mental illness as part of a major shake-up announced by the Turnbull government. The new system promises more prevention and personalised care, but no new funding. Here's Charles Croucher.
Stress, anxiety, depression, mental illness. Every year it costs thousands of lives and billions to the economy. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
A developer and suburban council are heading for a showdown over the future of the Nilex clock site. The proposed residential tower would raise the landmark by 20 metres, but the City of Yarra is yet to be convinced. Seb Costello has more.
At the site of the Nilex clock, it's showtime. Seb Costello, 9 News.
Next, Tony Jones, looking ahead to sport.
Good on you, Pete. Thanks for that. And on the eve of that day-night test match in Adelaide, the skipper is playing his cards pretty close to his chest. Ayrton Woolley.
Tony, Australia has trimmed its squad ahead of tomorrow's historic match, but there's still a big decision to be revealed when it comes to our pace attack. Those details a little later.
Also, on the hustings, Woosh's goodwill mission.
John Worsfold from the Essendon Footy Club. I figured. How's it going?
A rough start for Adam Scott at the Australian Open, but did he recover? Slam drunk, the basketball fan who showed poor form, and the heavyweight boxer who's on song.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
I really need to explain that to you a little later on.
Thank you. I was hoping you might. Thank you, Tony. Now, when we return, 30 years on, $1 million award to help ease a grieving family's pain. A Frankston teenager and his father praised for saving 3 lives. US forces suspended after bombing an Afghan hospital and killing civilians. And the DIY hearing test in the comfort of your home. A teenage boy and his father have been praised for rescuing 3 people from raging waters that claimed a life in Frankston. Among those saved, 2 teenagers who'd jumped in to help the drowning man. Madeline Slattery explains.
17-year-old Trent and his dad Peter were taking a break from kayaking at Frankston Beach yesterday afternoon when they responded to a desperate plea. Madeline Slattery, 9 News.
The family of Albert Pisani, murdered almost 30 years ago, has pleaded for his killer to come forward. Detectives have offered a reward of up to $1 million for information about the Moe man's death. More from Andrew Nelson.
Nearly 3 decades on from his grisly death, the family of Albert Pisani is still heartbroken.
He was my oldest brother.
Andrew Nelson, 9 News.
American forces who killed and wounded dozens of civilians when they mistakenly struck a hospital in Afghanistan have been suspended and are facing disciplinary action. United States Commander General John Campbell said a series of human and technical errors caused a gunship crew to destroy the hospital operated by the charity Doctors Without Borders. Their intended target was a Taliban command centre 450 metres away. But an equipment failure forced the crew to rely on a physical description, leading them to attack the medical facility. At least 31 people were killed and 28 wounded. A Melbourne company is making life easier for people who struggle with hearing loss. It's developed an online test, enabling them to receive the right aid faster and cheaper. Sonia Marinelli has the details.
Louise Bartlett loves to feel the music.
Music is my life.
Sonia Marinelli, 9 News.
Bec Judd's here now with the weather. Certainly a cooler day today, wasn't it, Bec?
Yes, Pete, and the wind chill made it feel even colder. It was very windy as the change came through last night, and today the wind chill has been quite severe. A low of 10.8 this morning felt like 6, and that pattern continued as we struggled up to a top of 17.4 this afternoon. These unseasonably cool temperatures are caused by strong winds and a cold pool of air behind the front that passed through today. We'll still feel the effects of that tomorrow, but by the weekend winds will be much lighter, so while temperatures will still be below average, it won't feel quite as cold. I'll have the forecast for you a little later, Pete.
OK, thank you, Bec. And next in Melbourne's 9 News, a photo bomber quizzed over a king hit in a Richmond pub. A year's rain in 24 hours ends a desert city's dry spell. Aussie music stars walk the red carpet for the industry's biggest night. And a presidential pardon for the world's luckiest turkey. A man's decision to photobomb a group of young women on a night out may have helped police investigating a Richmond assault. They were searching for the man pictured after he allegedly broke the nose of another reveller. Fred Cooper sustained several blows to the head at the Swan Hotel in the early hours of last Thursday morning. He'd reportedly asked his attacker to calm down. The 34-year-old from Berwick handed himself into police this morning. He was released without charge and is assisting with inquiries. France will unite for a national day of mourning on Friday to honour the fallen and the survivors of the Paris attacks. Tom Steinfort says Islamic State, the group behind the atrocity, has released disturbing new propaganda warning that no one is safe.
This is our Khilafah in all its glory.
It looks just like a Hollywood film. Drones, special effects, even a booming American voiceover.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
In Paris, Tom Steinfort, 9 News.
The Prime Minister of Qatar has ordered an immediate investigation into building standards after a sudden storm caused chaos across the capital, Doha. The normally parched city receives an average 74 millimetres of rain a year, but the storm dumped 80 in just a matter of hours. Worst hit was the country's new $23 billion airport, which leaked badly, while elsewhere roads flooded, prompting warnings that those responsible for poorly built projects would be prosecuted. Qatar is spending $275 billion on infrastructure for the 2022 Soccer World Cup. And a light moment for Barack Obama when he presided over the traditional Thanksgiving turkey pardoning ceremony at the White House. He joked that there was currently a fierce competition between a bunch of turkeys who were trying to replace him. The president then turned to the business at hand and saved 2 birds named Honest and Abe, who'll live out their days at a nearby historic farm. The heavyweights of Australia's music industry are out in force tonight for the annual ARIA Awards in Sydney. Big names from abroad are also making an appearance, with a special honour for a homegrown star. Peter Stefanovic hit the red carpet.
World music's man of the moment, Ed Sheeran, arrived as ARIA's special guest. Peter Stefanovic, 9 News.
You might never have seen it before, but there are calls for Melbourne's flag to be overhauled. Our city's official banner, divided by the Cross of St George, also features some unusual elements, including a spouting whale and a dead sheep hoisted on a red ring. The Herald Sun has unveiled some potential replacements. One focuses on our football and coffee addictions, while another highlights the obsession that councils have with complicated parking signs, much as we all love them. And now returning with sport, Tony Jones.
Thanks, Peter. Hello again. Coming up after the break, our starting 11 for the test, under wraps. A blast from the past as Lenny rolls the arm over again. The Bombers send their coach on a bit of a charm offensive. And the pensioner who just couldn't hold his drink. Skipper Steve Smith won't reveal until tomorrow the makeup of his starting 11 for that day-night test match against New Zealand. Now, it won't be dominated by spin, we know that, because Steve O'Keefe was today sent home for shield duties. Ayrton Woolley reports from Adelaide.
While it all appeared relatively calm this afternoon, last night, a scary reminder of the dangers facing our cricketers. And with another 5 days of cricket to come, this really will be a test of staying power.
All righty, Ayrton joins us live now from Adelaide. And Ayrton, although this test is all about looking to the future, I suppose, there has been a bit of a chance to look back.
That's right, Tony. It might be a history-making night here tomorrow night, but it takes us back some 37 years, its origins, when World Series cricket was taken to the then VFL Park in Melbourne. It was Australia versus a World 11 with Len Pascoe delivering that first ball under lights to South African Barry Richards. Tony.
All right, Ayrton Woolley reporting live there. Masters champion Peter Senior has come back to earth with a thud, shooting 9 over on day 1 of the Australian Open. Local golfer Lincoln Tye leads the way. Defending champion Jordan Spieth is even with the card. And while it wasn't one of his best rounds, Spieth did have his moments.
The defending champion Jordan Spieth out just after 7 o'clock this morning, and he wanted to get off to a flying start.
Adam Scott also finished even, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
That's in the water. I'm sorry, that's...
Hot and windy conditions made it pretty tough for most of the field. Having seen many of their leading lights hit the road as a result of that supplement saga, Essendon today dispatched new coach John Worsfold to the streets. It was very much a PR mission for Worsfold, thanking members for their ongoing support. Mark McGugan joined him.
There was a time when John Worsfold was an enemy of Essendon fans. Now he's one of them.
John Worsfold from the Essendon Footy Club.
Mark McGugan, 9 News.
Outrage in basketball circles following a bizarre incident in Wollongong last night. Former NBA draftee Marcus Thornton, now with the Sydney Kings, was left stunned after having beer thrown on him by a spectator.
Well, that's outrageous. And his missus has given him a spray, and so she should. She's given him a gobful, and he said, it wasn't me.
A private hospital hosted the corporate box. It apologised today for the actions of the 83-year-old man, who was a guest of his daughter, actually, a somewhat irate daughter who works at the hospital. The man has since been banned for the rest of the season. And finally in sport, the build-up to boxing matches have never been, well, you wouldn't exactly call them romantic affairs, would you? Until now. British boxer Tyson Fury took the unusual step of serenading his opponent ahead of their world title bout in Germany.
For you are the one with all the glory, and I were the one with all the strength.
Yep, heavyweight champion Vladimir Klitschko was a little confused, but surprisingly took it on the chin.
Am I at the open workout before my fight, or I'm at the, Britain's next superstar, singing star?
Come Sunday morning our time, they'll both be looking for a smash hit. What has become of boxing?
As they say, I've seen it, but I don't believe it. Thank you, Tony. Well, now, after the break, the day's finance. The NGV prepares for its 15 minutes of Andy Warhol. The new super pharmacies with medical staff on call. And a French fashion giant targets Australian kids.
Tickets to Nine's international summer are on sale now. And we're giving away 25 double passes to day one of the Commonwealth Bank Boxing Day test, Australia versus the West Indies.
In breaking news, a 10-year-old boy is in a critical condition after being hit by a car at Benalla, southeast of Shepparton. The young child had just exited a bus before he was struck. He's been airlifted to the Royal Children's Hospital with serious chest injuries. Work has begun at the National Gallery of Victoria on the installation of the largest international contemporary exhibition in its history. The Andy Warhol Al Weiwei show will feature over 300 works by the two artists, including some Warhol-designed cow wallpaper, which was moved into place today. It opens on December 11. Woolworths chairman Gordon Cairns has used the company's annual general meeting to apologise to shareholders for its unacceptable profit results and disappointing share price. He assured them he was convinced the business could be returned to the great days. But investors weren't impressed with Woolworths shares dropping as the big banks helped keep the Australian share market's head above water. The All Ordinaries Index finished 14 points higher. Our dollar slipped below 72.5 US cents. Patients are divided on a state government move to launch so-called super pharmacies with GP services. Aimed at easing waiting times and pressure at hospitals, doctors have told Laura Spurway they're concerned some patients may be misdiagnosed.
Levia Winton is a regular at this pharmacy in Narre Warren South. Laura Spurway, 9 News.
Retailer Target has added another name to its guest list of top fashion houses, announcing a collaboration with French designer Jean-Paul Gaultier. The budget line of more than 100 products will sell from $10 and feature his nautical and leather looks for clothing, shoes and homewares early next year. Perhaps disappointingly, one of his most spectacular designs, Madonna's famous cone bra outfit, isn't expected to be in the collection. Well, Bec joins me again. What can we expect and when will it warm up, do you think, Bec?
Oh, look, Pete, it is not great timing. We're going to have to wait until the last day of spring until we record maximums above average again. I'll have the details next. Good evening. Well, Melbourne's weather certainly keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? After reaching 33 degrees yesterday, it was a scramble to get warmer clothes back out today as we only managed a top of 17. And very cool southwesterly winds made it feel 5 or 6 degrees colder all day. Winds were still very strong around Melbourne, gusting up to 85 kilometres an hour at the airport. And there were some light showers throughout the day and hail fell in some of our eastern suburbs. Thunderstorms developed in coastal regions as the cold front moved through last night and showers continued through the state today. And as expected, that cold air saw some snow falling in the Alpine region. Mount Baw had 3 centimetres, which is incredible, with only 5 days until summer. And it's been quite an extraordinary day weather-wise in other parts of the country. In Tasmania, we saw snow down to 350 metres. And in contrast, Sydney hit 38 degrees after their warmest November nights on record, one of their warmest November nights on record, only dropping to 24. And the clash of hot and cold air caused very windy conditions around Canberra with gusts of almost 100 kilometres an hour. A change moved through Sydney this afternoon with the temperature dropping 10 degrees in just 10 minutes. So tomorrow we'll see more settled conditions in the southeast. And Victoria will have a mild weekend as winds become light ahead of a high pressure system that will warm things up on Monday and Tuesday. So around the country tomorrow, Sydney will be 15 degrees cooler, cloudy and 23. A few light showers for Hobart and a top of 16, and mild in Adelaide with 22. And another cooler day across Victoria as the southwesterly wind pattern continues. Isolated showers will continue along the coast. We'll see below average temperatures around Melbourne again tomorrow, and cloud will increase during the day. And it will get very cool overnight. In the city, it will drop to 8 degrees before moving up to a maximum of 18. Then it will brighten up a little bit on the weekend, heading for 21 on Saturday and 20 on Sunday. Then we'll get a burst of warmth on the last day of spring with a top of 27 degrees. And summer will get off to a warm start with 29 degrees, but it will be short-lived as a cool change will move in, bringing some showers. Then back to 18 on Wednesday and 20 on Thursday. So tomorrow will be slightly warmer than today, but it will cloud over in the afternoon, and we're in for a cool night, dropping to 8 degrees before we reach our maximum of 18. So, Pete, never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. I wonder about those winds. Oh, well, never mind. Thank you, Bec. Melbourne, that's what's news this Thursday. Stay up to date at 9news.com.au. Enjoy your evening and good night.